Hey YC family and friends, this week's our devotion will be around God's will. And so we're in the second week of this conversation around the birth story of Christ in Luke chapter 1. And I just want to reaffirm several things that we've talked about, as well as look at some other little nuances of the text that are just amazing in terms of how do I do that. So we looked at this week having awareness of what God's will is. Mary was given awareness by the angel. And then acceptance of what's troublesome about that and what's difficult, and then obedience. I said there's three things that are very, very critical that I need to know. That trusting God's will, and this is how I begin to trust God's will, it requires awareness, acceptance, and obedience. That trusting God's will has nothing to do with my comfort. It's often going to be uncomfortable to trust God's will, because He's going to ask me to do something that maybe I don't want to do. He's going to show me a path that I may not want to take. He's going to ask me to surrender my willfulness and become willing. And that's sometimes troublesome. It was for Mary. Mary's shifting, changing, adjusting into an obedient lifestyle was troublesome. It was challenging. Don't think for a minute that it was an easy path for Mary. It was not. 9 months of being pregnant outside of wedlock, and the only answer you can give is, I was conceived by God, is hard. We'll look at that more this week. But I want to just give you a little quote by Andrew Murray, who's one of my favorite iconic Christian leaders of the past. In the late 1800s, he encountered and went through many, many challenges, but was relentless to obey God and trust God, and saw phenomenal things that God did on his behalf. Andrew Murray said, "In times of trouble, say first, He brought me here. It is by His will that I'm in this straight place. Then say, He will keep me here in His love and give me grace in this trial to behave as His child. Then say, He will make the trial a blessing, teaching me lessons He intends me to learn and working in me the grace He means to bestow. Lastly say, in His good time He will bring me out again. How and when He knows. Therefore say, I am here by God's appointment, in His keeping, under His training, for His time." Love that quote. Know that whatever trouble you're in, challenges you're in, God wants to work in the midst of where you are to get you to where He wants you to be. And rest that God knows where you are. He knows the challenge in your marriage or in your addictive behavior. He knows where you are. And He wants to move you. He wants to make the trial a blessing. The very thing that is difficult and challenging, He wants to leverage for your transformation. So be aware of it. Accept it. Embrace God in the midst of it. Embrace the trial, the struggle, the challenge, the failure, the weakness. Only as you embrace that and walk with Jesus, and then take steps into obedience, will you find yourself going through that to become who God wants you to be. Join me tomorrow as we continue to talk about Mary and her interaction with Elizabeth. We will find some most powerful things that Mary did that empowered her to trust God's will and then to walk in that will. God bless. I'll see you tomorrow.